Welcome back to Walk the Walk. Fed up with life in the UK? You're not alone. Thousands of Brits are leaving England every year, and it's not just the rich. In this video, we talk honestly about why more ordinary people are choosing to escape the UK and build new lives abroad. Just a quick note before we dive in that this is my real voice. So if you've ever thought to yourself, I'd leave tomorrow if I could afford it, then drop a comment. Let us know where you're watching from and what's stopping you from actually leaving. You know what it feels like sometimes, like Britain's on a slow leak, and every year the air just hisses out a bit more, bills up, wages flat, potholes deeper than the Mariana Trench, and the politicians arguing about who had more cake at which party. And all the while normal folk are sat there, just trying to keep the heating on without selling a kidney. Now loads of people are thinking the same thought, even if they don't say it out aloud. What if I just left? You'd be surprised how many are already doing it. It's not just the bankers moving to Dubai or the tech kids heading to Silicon Valley. It's regular people like me, who have realized that staying put in the UK doesn't automatically mean stability anymore. In fact, for a lot of people, it's the opposite. I've lived in London, I've lived in other parts of Europe, and I've been lucky enough to travel to about 20 countries so far. But the last few years, I've been spending a lot of time in South America, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and let me tell you, it's been a proper eye-opener. The first thing that hits you isn't even the weather, though let's be honest, trading grey drizzle for a Medellin morning where the sun actually shows its face is a nice bonus. What really slaps you round the chops is the attitude. People here don't walk around like they've just had their dreams repossessed by the taxman. There's a lightness, even when life isn't easy. In Colombia, I've sat on little plastic stools outside corner shops at 10 p.m, drinking a cold beer with locals who have got bugger all money but laugh like millionaires. In Ecuador, I've wandered through markets stacked high with fruit that would cost you half your wage packet back home, and here it's just normal. And in Peru, I've had meals so good they made me question why I ever thought a £7 soggy supermarket lasagna counted as dinner. Now, don't get me wrong, every place has its issues. There's bureaucracy, there's crime, there's poverty, but the trade-offs are different. Back home, you're paying through the nose for everything and still feel shortchanged. Out here, you can live a decent life without feeling like you're permanently running on a hamster wheel powered by anxiety. And here's the kicker. You don't need to be rich. Honestly, that's the biggest myth keeping people stuck. I got loads of comments, stuff like, I'd leave tomorrow if I could afford it, or I'm too old for all that. Listen, you don't need a yacht, and you don't need to be 21 and insta-perfect. You need a bit of courage, a plan, and a willingness to adapt. That's it. When I first came to South America, I was nervous. All the headlines you've ever read about Colombia, drugs, cartels, Pablo Escobar, the whole works. And sure, that history exists, but so does Britain's, and right now, if we're being brutally honest, it's about perspective. The danger isn't what it used to be, and you learn pretty quick which places to avoid, same as you would back home. What's more, people massively underestimate how doable this is. If you're British, you've got one of the strongest passports going. That little burgundy book, or navy blue one if you've got one of the newer ones, opens doors to loads of countries visa-free. In South America, you can stay months at a time without jumping through hoops. And if you decide you want to go longer term, visas aren't as impossible as people think. That's a whole topic for another video, But trust me, if you can figure out how to renew your car tax online, you can figure out how to stay abroad legally. And let's talk money, without going too deep into spreadsheets, because again, that's a separate video. Here's the rough truth. You can live a pretty solid life here for what you'd spend just on rent and bills back home. In Colombia, the price of a one-bed flat in a decent neighborhood might cost less than your council tax bill in the UK. Food? Dirt cheap if you buy local. Eating out? You don't need a second mortgage to grab a meal. Public transport? That's also affordable, and it actually works, and nobody's charging you 60 quid to sit on a train for an hour next to a broken toilet. Now, I'm not saying it's all paradise. You'll miss things. You'll have days where you're frustrated, where the language barrier gets on your nerves, where the internet drops out just when you need it most. And yeah, you'll miss family and friends. But then you think about the flip side: sunshine, fresh food, neighbors who actually talk to each other, not having to choose between heating and eating. It does wonders for your mental health. I had a mate who left the UK a few years back, just couldn't stand the grind anymore. He ended up in Ecuador, a small town in the Andes. At first he thought he'd last 6 months. Guess what? He's still there, married now, kids on the way, and every time we chat, he says the same thing: I'll never come back. Not because he hates Britain, but because he's found a quality of life that makes sense. Another friend of mine went to Peru. He'd struggled with depression back home. Another friend of mine went to Peru. He'd struggled with depression back home. Always felt like life was this endless slog. Out there, he picked up Spanish bit by bit, found community, started hiking mountains instead of staring at grey tower blocks. And he told me once, it's not that Peru is perfect, it's that I'm allowed to breathe here. That stuck with me. So when people ask me, isn't it risky leaving? I flip the question, isn't it risky staying? Because look around. Britain's cost of living is spiralling. The NHS is on life support. Politics is one long Punch and Judy show. And mental health? People are cracking under the pressure. You think that's safe? You think grinding yourself down until you can't remember the last time you smiled is the safer option? Nah, for me, the bigger risk was staying put. And here's something else to chew on. It's not forever. Leaving doesn't mean you've slammed the door shut on the UK forever. You can always come back. Think of it like trying on a new coat. If it doesn't fit, fine. Back in the cupboard. But at least you tried it on. Because here's the truth. The regret of not trying will haunt you way more than the regret of giving it a go and it not working out. I know some of you listening right now are tempted but scared. And that's normal. Fear is always the first hurdle. But once you're on the other side, you'll see it wasn't a cliff, just a step. So yeah, that's where I'm at. South America isn't for everyone, but it's given me perspective. And I reckon it's worth at least considering. I'll be making videos digging into the details, cost of living, visas, daily life, but this one's just to plant the seed, to get you thinking, do I really have to settle for the UK the way it is right now? Or could I walk a different mile somewhere else?